All right, well, hello everybody. I hope that you're doing well. Thank you very much for joining. I know having a meeting over the summer is probably not typical for you guys, but we are not operating in typical times. So I thought it would be helpful if we could take an hour or so to talk about what's going to be going on this semester, and also to just give you guys an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have, either up front or as we go along. So my plan for today is really to go over the syllabus and to talk our way through that, and finally to open up the floor for questions and allow you guys to ask any questions that you have, and we can see we can see if we can get everybody comfortable with where we are and where we're going to be during the course of the semester. Okay, so here, I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully you guys can see that. And we'll start with our syllabus. So our class is Introduction to Chemical Engineering Thermodynamics. I'm the instructor, Professor Mustaine. It's nice to meet you guys, even though I can't see any of you on the Zoom video right now. One of the first things that I wanted to clarify as we start working through the syllabus is that our course is scheduled for Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10:50 to 11:40, and my intention is to run this as a synchronous class, that I will be at lecture doing something just like this during the lecture period. And it's really highly encouraged for you guys to come to class and to be engaging with us live during the course period, 10:50 to 11:40 Monday through Friday, and also during the recitation time on Mondays from 6 to 8. And we'll talk a little more about what I use the recitation time for in just a minute. Just like this meeting is going to be posted to YouTube, so you guys will have access to this conversation, and some of the folks that aren't able to join us either today or Thursday for the second session, we'll have an archive. That way you can either rewatch things that weren't exactly clear during class the first time, or some people are sick, some things happen and people aren't able to come to class, and they'll have access to all the lectures on YouTube throughout the semester. So this will help people to stay up to date with the class, and also to be able to see things in a way maybe that they wouldn't have been able to do in the past. So maybe there's some advantage to doing things this way. I talked a minute ago about the recitation period from 6 to 8, and we really use the recitation period to do two things. The first thing is to solve homework problems. And so you'll notice as we go through the syllabus that homework assignments are due on Mondays. And just like if we were operating in class, the assignments will be due on Monday by 10:50 a.m. And the reason we do that is that the recitation, you see the solution to the homework on the same day that we assigned it. So you'll turn the homework in at 10:50. Immediately after it's turned in, your TAs will start working on grading it, and then they'll host the recitation at 6 p.m. And so one of the things that always drove me crazy when I was a student was that I would turn in homework, and sometime 2 weeks later, somebody would hand me something back that had some chicken scratch on it and a number. And so one of the things I've worked really hard to fix is the feedback loop with students. And one of the ways that I think this works the best is to get people feedback as quickly as absolutely possible. Because if homework's due on Monday, let's be honest with each other, you guys have probably been working on it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so the last couple of days before the assignment is due. And 2 weeks later, you may not even remember what you were struggling with, because we're at some part in the semester where we've moved forward, right? We're already working on new things. And so you being able to learn what you did wrong and to fix that, I think, is really burdened by waiting a week, or worst case, 2 weeks to get homework back. So we are really adamant, me and the TAs, of doing an excellent job of grading the homework on the day that it is due and getting you the solution on that same evening in recitation. So it's highly encouraged for you to come to recitation, not only for the homework solutions, but also the quizzes. So we'll also have quizzes in all of the recitation periods where we have attendance and we're not taking an exam. And those will be done during the recitation period. So we're going to use the recitation for homework mostly and quizzes, but all of your exams will also be given during the recitation period. This way you have a 2-hour window where you can where you can hopefully take an exam in as relaxed a way as you can. Okay. So as we continue to move through this, our textbook is Introduction to Chemical Engineering Thermodynamics. And here I'm going to stop sharing the screen and hopefully my video is playing. And so here's our book, Chemical Engineering Thermodynamics. So this is by Smith, Van Ness, Abbott, and Swinhart. It's been one of the most commonly used textbooks for chemical engineering thermodynamics that is used around the country. So there are a lot of resources, not only myself and the TAs, but also there's a bunch of stuff that's online related to this textbook that hopefully makes it easy for you to use. And one of those online resources I really like a lot, and it's called Learn Chemie, and it's a National Science Foundation funded effort at UC Boulder, where they've made short videos on all of the concepts that we're going to be discussing throughout the course of this semester. So my ego is not big enough to think that I'm the only way to teach thermodynamics, or you're going to exactly learn it the way that I teach it. And some people really benefit from additional problems or different types of presentations to the same material. And so you'll get some of that from me, you'll get some of that from the TAs, but then you also can leverage this Learn Chemie website to help you through different concepts. And you're able to simply click through and, let's say that you wanted to learn about a closed system energy balance, which is something that we'll be covering very early on. Well, you click that subject and here's a video on it from them. So you'll get my perspective in problems. You can also get their perspective in problems. So anyway, it's something I've really referred people to for many years now, and it's a really excellent resource, and they're always adding things to it, which I really like. From a course notifications perspective, we're going to use Blackboard. So everything will be posted to Blackboard. Your homework scores will be posted there. Additional material, so packets of things that I want you guys either to read or mostly use as a reference will be posted on Blackboard. Lecture notes will be posted on Blackboard, that kind of stuff. So, hopefully by the end of the semester, we really do a good job of populating the Blackboard site and provide as many resources for you guys as we can. So you're going to have 2 teaching assistants this coming semester. Hannah Susi, who is a second-year PhD student, and Yiwei Zhang, who is a third-year PhD student. So they both work for me in my research group, and they're also going to be helping out in thermo this semester. I think most of the in-person activities will be with Hannah. So Hannah's going to handle the lion's share of the recitation and in-person office hours. Then Yiwei is going to handle the lion's share of the homework grading and quiz grading. And you guys will have some one-on-one interaction with her in office hours as well. Okay. And you'll notice when I put office hours on the syllabus, you might have looked through this when I sent it out the other day, that I don't have office hours there because it doesn't make sense to me, and it's actually never made sense to me, that professors just dump office hours on you guys without asking when you're actually available. So I'm very adamant about asking my students when they are available and doing my best between myself and the TAs to have office hours where every person in the class is available. Now, obviously, that won't just be one time, but last semester, for example, when I taught kinetics, we had 4 different office hours where I hosted 2 of them, the TAs hosted 2 of them. And we made sure that every single person in the class was available for at least one of those office hours, sort of Thursday or Wednesday through Friday. And I've even hosted office hours over the weekends in the past, and you'll notice, maybe if you looked at Doodle Poll, that those are available. So speaking of the Doodle Poll, we can actually go to that. And you'll notice that in the Doodle Poll, I start from 8 a.m. on Monday through 6 p.m. And then we do that Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So the weekends, for a lot of people, don't feel like an ideal time to have office hours, and I certainly agree with that. But I have had some success in the past when homeworks are due on Mondays, having a Sunday office hour. But we'll see. The most common one is late Friday afternoon. It seems like every semester we have a late Friday afternoon office hour. But I would like if you guys, just like you did to be part of this meeting today, could log into or to click on the Doodle link and to fill out your availability for this coming semester, looking at your schedule and hopefully keeping in mind it's not when you necessarily want to have office hours, but it's when you are always available to have office hours. And I say that because obviously Fridays at 3:30 are not ideal. People have things that they want to do on Friday afternoons and Friday evenings. But it seems like, you know, last semester and the semester before that, we had actually the best turnout on Friday afternoons and the most useful office hours, right? It's nice to have 20, 25 people, whether we were in person or even when we switched over to Zoom, to have 20, 25 people in office hours. And actually we had better turnout when we switched to Zoom because people didn't have to think about, well, do I have to get my stuff, walk down to the building and then walk back? You can just log in and heck, some of you now are probably still in your pajamas, and that was very common for class at the end of last semester. So, so please do me a favor in the next couple of weeks and fill out your availability for office hours next semester, since you have your schedules available to you. It would be extremely helpful, like I said. Okay. Going then through the syllabus are things like learning outcomes and how we're going to learn how to apply the first and second law of thermodynamics to open and closed systems, and then inevitably to cycles and understanding how energy is produced and that kind of stuff. I have a list in the syllabus of important dates, including the first day of class, which is Friday, August 21st. And then I've already listed the days for all of the exams. So the first exam will be on October 5th. The second exam will be on October 26th. And then the third and final exam will be December 11th from 9 to 11 a.m. And then there's also days listed here that are good reference points for some students. On the off chance that they decide to drop a course, when can you do that without a W? When can you do that without the WF? And also when we will be having Thanksgiving break. So we've simplified things this semester to only really have 3 types of assignments. And the first one is homework. There will be 8 homework assignments during the course of the semester. Each homework problem will be worth 10 points. And most homework assignments will consist of about 6 problems. So you'll be in, you know, I'll call it 6 or 7 problems would be fairly typical. And there's just one homework assignment where we'll break that rule, where there's like 3 weeks between homework assignments because of the awkward timing between exams 1 and exam 2. And so we'll have one homework assignment, I believe it's homework 5, that'll have probably be a double homework assignment, but you'll have, you know, something like 3 weeks between assignments to work on that. And then we'll also have quizzes. So we'll have 8 quizzes during the course of the semester. Each quiz will also be worth 10 points. And as I said before, that the quizzes will be taken in the same recitation session where you solve the homework. So the idea is that you do a homework assignment, turn it in, go to recitation, see the solution, and then you take the quiz after the homework. So just in case there's something that wasn't clear while you were doing the homework, you can actually learn during the review and then apply that to the quiz, as opposed to testing you before you've ever seen the solution to the material that you just turned in. So people tend to like that a little bit better with the quizzes. Exams, there will be 3 exams. And generally there'll be 4 problems. I think the final is usually 5 problems because you get an extra half an hour for the final exam. And the final tends to be more comprehensive. So I also like to believe in allowing students to show that they've mastered concepts from earlier in the semester, later in the semester, to help improve their score. So on the final, for example, it's not uncommon to have 2 problems come from material that's early on in the semester and allow people to boost their final exam score while then still testing the things that we did at the end of the semester with sort of 3 of the other problems. So hopefully that's a little bit clear how we will handle at least assigning things. Now, when it comes to doing them, right, in person, this would have been very simple, right? You hand out a quiz, you guys hand the form back. Same thing with an exam. The quizzes and exams will also happen in real time during assigned slots for the course, right, during the recitation periods. And the way that we will work that is that for a 30-minute quiz, we'll actually allot 45 minutes. And the idea is that we will post the quiz to Blackboard. So the recitation session is 6 to 8 p.m. So at 7:30 p.m., the quiz will hit Blackboard, and people will have 45 minutes to work on the problem. And most people either print it, do the assignment, scan it, and send it back. Some people don't print the actual problem. They'll just take either lined paper or white paper, solve it, and scan it either using a scanner, or there are tons of free apps now for phones on both iPhones or on Android, where you're able to scan and it immediately makes a PDF that then you can upload to Blackboard. And that's exactly what we'll expect you to do. So we'll give you 45 minutes from the time the quiz goes live to have scanned and submitted the quiz on Blackboard. Exams are a little bit longer, and so the scanning procedure might take slightly longer than the quizzes. And so we'll have 2-hour exams. So the exam, for example, in recitation will go live at 6 p.m. and then people will have until 8:30 to have completed the exam, scanned it, and then submitted it on Blackboard. And the other thing that we also ask students to do for these sort of virtual exams is that there has to still be some control on our side for academic integrity. And the way that we do that is by requiring everybody in the exam to have their microphone and their camera on during both the quizzes and the exam. And that makes sure that people aren't talking to each other. We can see, well, at least as best we can with a webcam, that people aren't texting. We can hear if people are typing, which is something you shouldn't be doing during an exam, because you shouldn't be using online resources, etc. So with 50 people in our class, you might think, well, that's going to be chaos because people are always making noise. Well, we had 35 in kinetics at the end of last semester. And you'd be surprised how having to have microphones on makes people extremely quiet. And we did this for the second exam and for the final exam, and then the last 3 or 4 quizzes during the semester. And it actually worked out extremely well. So having people required to have their microphone and camera on at least is about as good as we can do, because I say this all the time to people that individually, once we meet each other and we get to know each other a little bit, I'll trust any individual. But as a collective, I almost never trust a group of 50 people. Well, actually never a group more than 15 people, let alone 50 people. So, so don't take it personally, but we're doing our best to assess your individual performance as fairly as we can in whatever climate this is, which isn't ideal, right? With regards to doing coursework, there really is no specialized software that people will need. I know some people want, or some professors want students to learn their favorite computer program, whether it's MATCAD or MATLAB or Maple or Mathematica, or, you know, we could keep going. And I think it's way easier to teach you guys thermo and let you learn programming somewhere else. So every problem that we do during the course of this semester, you can solve with Excel. And I will help you guys early on in the semester for those of you who are less familiar with Excel or solving individual equations with GoalSeek or systems of equations using Solver. We'll have tutorials, whether we do this in class or I pre-record a video that you guys can watch, and then we can answer questions during office hours. You know, that will sort of manifest itself later. I'll figure that out as we go forward in the semester. But I will be here as a resource for you guys to learn how to use some of the Excel features that you're not yet familiar with. I wouldn't imagine that, you know, going into this semester that you would have had an enormous amount of complex Excel experience. So we'll do our best to help you guys solve problems, prepare plots, you know, do data analysis and that kind of stuff as we move along through the semester. Okay. And so then The final grades here will be an amalgam of those elements that we just talked about: quizzes, homework problems, and exam solutions. The one thing that I do that Professor Williams also does in 300 is there's a provision with the homework score that you can't have a better homework average than your exam average, and that's just reflected in this equation that you can see here. Now, I also have a set of grades and what sort of breaks up A versus B plus versus B versus C plus, etc. And this is a worst case scenario. So I never shift down from here. So maybe I don't mean to say it that way. I never shift up from here. That I would never suddenly say that to get an A in the course, you had to get a 91 based on student performance, because I actually don't believe that this is a competition, that I have some sort of required number of A's or B's or C's or D's or lower that I have to give in a class. In fact, it would be everybody's dream, right? That everybody would just get a 90 plus on everything throughout the whole semester, and I would get 51 A's, and that'd be fine with me. I mean, obviously I'd be highly suspicious, but it would be a great thing. So I don't think that we need a gradient of scores. I think what we're trying to do when we grade is to find gaps in performance. And so that's how I choose to differentiate A's versus B plus versus B, is when you look at how people have scored throughout the semester and what their average score is, you see them, they pop up. Suddenly there's a group that's, let's say between 89 and 87, and then the next score is like 84. And so these gaps happen, and that's where I really end up drawing lines between A's and B pluses and B's, etc. And so I almost always end up shifting down from here, where the A cutoff might end up being an 87. I've had it be an 85. So it just depends on the relative difficulty of the class and how people have shown their level of understanding throughout the semester. So we're trying to grade that in as fair a way as possible. So in terms of us interacting, I do not intend, and I don't believe that the TAs intend to hold any in-person interactions. So everything that we're going to be doing will be through Zoom. And at the very top of the syllabus, there's a link to join all of the lectures and all of the recitations. And I also have sent out an invitation to all of you in class to your university email for both of those meetings. So if you haven't seen those, please, please send me an email, and I would be happy to send you the link or resend you the invitation to the link. When it comes to office hours, once we get office hours settled, after everyone fills out the Doodle Poll, we'll also send out Zoom invitations to everybody in the class for all of the office hours. So, and then as students request more time, because sometimes in a given week you might not be able to make any office hours, and so you might want a little bit of additional time from either myself or from the TAs, please feel free to ask, send me and the TAs an email and say, look, I'm really sorry, I can't make it to office hours, but I have a few questions, can you make some time? And if we're able to accommodate that, which we normally will, we'll again make a Zoom meeting. And then unless it's a very individual problem that you are having that's not related to the course, we'll just make that bonus office hours for everybody, and we'll send the link to everyone and hopefully get as much engagement and interaction as we can. So that's sort of student to instructor type interaction. Between students, I'm also happy to facilitate this. I know that oftentimes in class, you guys would break up into small groups and have and study together, right? And actually do homework problems together as part of your learning. And I think that's really important. Zoom has a free feature for all users that you can have multi-person meetings or sort of 3+ person meetings for 40 minutes at a time for free. But if you want to go above 40 minutes, you either have to make multiple meetings or you need a pro membership, which is about $15 a month. Now, I don't expect you guys to foot the bill necessarily to do that. So if you know that you and 5 other people want to have a Zoom meeting to do homework, but you're going to spend 3-4 hours on it together, you also can send me an email or send one of the TAs an email, And we're happy to set up a Zoom meeting for you and your group to interact with each other. And so hopefully that helps facilitate some student-to-student interaction, because I really don't want you guys to lose that in this environment where you're able to talk to each other and ask each other questions. And you'll see, especially with the homework, I'm not as careful of holding homework assignments to the vest as some other professors are. That no, I will not post homework, as I think Professor Williams does at the beginning of the semester. But in office hours, we will be working through homework problems together. You guys will start the problems, you'll hit a barrier, and you'll say, hey, look, I don't really understand this next step. And then I'll walk you through the next step. And what we end up doing over the course of a week of office hours is actually solving most of the problems, at least to a level where it should be straightforward to solve them from that point on. And so, I'm not a believer that people have to go work in a closet by themselves. The real world's never going to work that way. Exams and quizzes are where we really start to dig into your individual understanding. I think homeworks are just a learning opportunity for you guys to interact with each other, to interact with me, and to see how the concepts we work through in class are actually applied to things. Doing the homework, the 20% homework score is to get you to do it. I really don't care much how you do it, as long as you do it without cheating. That takes all the learning away. So on the syllabus, I also have other things about adhering to student conduct and what constitutes cheating. Also, our attendance policy is that I think we're all adults. I don't take attendance. I do hold people responsible for what they missed in class and during the recitation. So like I said, quizzes and exams in particular are given during the recitation. So you're expected to be there unless there's a real serious excuse. So anything you happen to miss that we did in class or a recitation, you will earn a 0 without, without a good reason, whether that be religious observation, or you happen to be infirmed and go to the doctor and you're sick enough that you get a note, that kind of stuff. And also accommodations that we're happy to make for students with disabilities, whether those are physical disabilities, I guess that's less here in this environment, but also learning disabilities. And for people who really struggle with certain aspects of our course, or anxiety or other things, I really do highly encourage people to go to student services. If you think that you have a disability that that makes it necessary for you to have extra time on quizzes and exams, please engage student services and the Student Disability Center. And I'm very, very happy to accommodate those. And every semester I have students in my classes that need more time on exams, etc. And like I said, I am very happy to work with people to make sure that they're comfortable taking an exam, as long as they're doing it through the proper channels. Okay. And then finally on the syllabus, there is a schedule of events or topics, or however you want to think about it, for the course of the semester, starting on the first day of class, going all the way through the last day of class. And you'll see, here on the left-hand side is the date. Next is the topic. Then on Mondays, there are recitation activities. And here is helpful reading for you guys for each of the topics that come, directly out of our book. Some of the Learn Chemi videos are already posted here, things that I think that you guys would find very, very helpful. And then what is due, on a particular day. So homework or a quiz that might be due as we move through the semester. So like I said before, there's 8 homeworks and there are 8 quizzes. Now, you might notice here that on the very first day of class, I don't have class, right? That we're not actually going to have a lecture on the first day. And one of the reasons that I want to do this is because we're not going to get to know each other as well as we would during the semester, where we could engage each other individually. And so, as you move through a semester, you often develop relationships with students. You get to know a little bit about them, you know their name, you know their face. You guys get to learn a little bit about me, and obviously you have to see my face and you get to learn my name, whatever, during the course of the semester. And it's nice for us to be able to do that, because it's more than I guess we are more than paperwork. And so let's treat each other that way. And so I want to take one lecture out of our semester specifically to address that and to give us an opportunity to learn each other's face and name and some things about each other. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do before the first class is to prepare one PowerPoint slide. And I'm going to email at the end of this week, when I send out the link to this YouTube video to everybody, I'm going to include a template for this. But I want you guys to prepare one slide about yourself. And this is what the template is going to look like, where you put your name at the top, your nickname, the thing that you prefer to be called by me, right? Not necessarily by your friends, but what you would like for me to call you. Or you could put both. And actually, I did that in my slide. I'll show you in just a second. Your major, because not everyone in our class is a chemical engineering major. We'll probably have some chemical engineers and other types of engineers in our class. Not many, but a handful or so. And then some things about you, right? What's something everybody knows about you? What's one interesting thing about you? The funniest one that I've ever had in a previous class where I did this was somebody had said that they'd only been on an airplane once in their life and they had to jump out of it. So they'd never gone on a trip, but they'd gone skydiving. So anyway, we all got a good laugh out of that. Learning outcomes, right? What do you actually want to learn in this course? And please don't just say thermodynamics, because I promise you'll never learn thermodynamics in one semester. And I've been working on thermodynamics for 15 years. And though I certainly know it better than you guys, and I certainly know it well, I never think that I really know thermodynamics. It's a very interesting intellectual topic that people spend their whole life and career trying to figure out. So I don't expect us to cover that much ground this semester. And then anything else that's interesting that we should know about you, and just a couple of class appropriate photos. So, maybe a headshot at the top, and then, something else you may or may not want to show us. And so, I'm happy to very quickly share mine. I won't go through it in any detail, but maybe here's a good example of how you could use the template. And on the very first class, of course, I'll present mine first, even though you guys have seen it. And the idea is that on that very first day of class, I hope that we're able to sort of go through these relatively rapidly, where, I'll show mine and, every minute or so, somebody else can show theirs and we can work our way through it and just have one class where we dedicate ourselves to the human aspect of working together and being together in class. Okay, so that's all of the material that I was planning to cover during our meeting today. So what I would like to do now, and I'll stop sharing my screen, is to open up the floor to you guys who are here to just be able to ask any questions that you might have. Okay, I guess there's no questions about the syllabus. Does anybody have any questions about anything related to class, things that we will be doing, won't be doing? Anything else where you'd like a little bit more clarity, or something I might not have covered?
I just wanted to know if there's going to be any projects at all. I know on the syllabus I didn't really see that, but
yeah, I normally do have projects. That's a really good question, especially towards the end, where we've actually gone all the way through first law, second law, open and closed systems. And then I like to assign one project, usually where it's a large system where you have to do an analysis. So my first thought in that was that group projects would be harder to do this semester than usual. So I took that out of the syllabus. But this is a good opportunity for you guys maybe to give me a little bit of feedback, because we have 15 people or so on this call. If you guys give me the feedback that you actually really want a project, then I'd be happy to add one back in. I think if you guys believe that you can manage doing a large project together in this fully online environment, I'm happy to give you the opportunity to do that. So I actually like to do that. As I said, I removed it.
okay, thanks.
I mean, does anybody have any thoughts about that? About actually having a desire to do a large project, or or to keep it this way where it's just homework, quizzes, and exams. All right, well, I won't put you guys on the spot today. We have a whole semester to do that and to discuss it. All right, but that was a good question. So does anybody else have a question that they'd like to ask? All right, well, I'm not seeing anybody jump to the opportunity, and that's fine. I tried to cover the syllabus as completely as I could. So as I said, I'm going to post this video on YouTube so that way you guys will have access to it. I'll send an email on Friday with this link, with the one slide that we talked about everybody preparing. And if you guys have any questions or anything between now and the end of the week or now and the beginning of the semester, please don't hesitate to reach out and to ask, because there's a lot going on right now. You guys have a lot of things to figure out, and I'm sure you're going through some uncertainty with all your classes. So hopefully we can make this as comfortable of a semester as possible. Okay. So again, thank you guys for coming, and like I said, reach out if you have any questions, and have a good day. All right.